All right, let me go to my next guest. She is one of my favorites, Margaret Kimberley. Margaret Kimberley is senior columnist and editor for Black Agenda Report, an author of Presidential, Black America and the Presidents. You can catch her on Freedom Ride blog on Twitter. Welcome to the show, Margaret. How you doing this morning? You doing all right?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, thank you for joining me. I always appreciate these conversations. There is a book. I want to start with this first because the other thing I want to get to is a little bit more contentious. It has to do with Trump's DHS thing. And apparently I got a Twitter warning, which I'm like, I think Twitter is lying with this, or at the very least being very delusional in regards to the way they're thinking about this. In fact, let's go to that first since I've already talked this up. Trump came out and effectively going with his Israel first policy, did something that I would argue is treasonous. He has put out an edict, as I would call it, from DHS, effectively saying that if you back Israel, meaning if you boycott Israel, city or state, that you won't get emergency funds. Now, that's outrageous.
You mean that's back Israel?
Right.
Yeah.
You have a First Amendment right to not back whatever you want. The idea that he is like, if you end up in a hurricane, a flood, a snowstorm, a fire, whatever, we are not going to give you support as a federal government, something that your tax dollars pay for, by the way, in order to support Israel. That is outrageous. So he gets a backlash from this. And just to show the audience the language, what it was in the beginning to what it is now. So right here. Initially, I can't see this. I can't see this. I can't see this. Okay. That D, I can't see that. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I need to find a better.
That's okay.
Or maybe I can blow this up. Hold on. Maybe I can blow this up. Okay. I have this somewhere. In fact, I know exactly where to find it. It's on my page. So in the first recounting of it, the original version, damn it, that is just as bad. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I promise I have another version of this where I can actually see with my own eyes. In fact, where is the one that I got hit for when I reposted this? Because it was very, here we are. And they didn't get rid of it. Excellent. All right. So this is Axios doing reporting on it. And they also have this in the tiny writing. Effectively, they're saying they've turned around. Come on. Okay, maybe I can't see this. It says discrimination is prohibited. Okay, discriminatory, prohibited, boycott means refusing to deal with curtail or curbing relations with effectively the state of Israel. That's what it's basically saying. Then they got rid of D, and then they changed it to something that's very similar. Federal anti-discrimination laws means that federal civil rights law that protects individuals advocating for discrimination on the basis of color, sex, religion, et cetera, et cetera. So if you think about it, you have a provision in it that says, look, if you back the state of Israel, or if you back boycotting the state of Israel, we won't accept that. And you won't get federal funding if you do that. Then there's a huge amount of outrage that comes along with it of people saying, okay, for one, how do you even fix your mouth to say that as an American with the whole First Amendment right thing? But he gets a huge amount of pushback. And so they say, okay, look, this is not what we're doing. We're DHS. But we're not going to accept any kind of discrimination along the basis of race, religion, et cetera, et cetera. My issue with the Twitter commentary that they put on my posts was that those two things are exactly the same in the language that Donald Trump uses, discrimination. Meaning he would make the argument that, well, you're being anti-Semitic. Okay, but in the context of anti-Semitism, He calls any protests against Israel, including BDS, as being anti-Semitic. This is being too cute by half. It's like, okay, you guys are pushing back on that first language, but our second language is effectively going to the same thing because of the propagandized way in which we effectively use language. So we will say, this is enhanced interrogation. This is not torture. Okay, but both of those things are the same. And that's kind of my issue with this. It's like they're acting as if Trump changed the language. Okay, he changed the words. The context is the same to me. And give me your take on it, though.
Well, this is something that did not start with Trump. When the BDS movement began, boycott, divest, sanction began, the Israel lobby went state by state, and most states have provisions withholding funds from any person or organization that participates in any BDS actions. So this has been going on a long time. It's bipartisan. So people should stop acting so shocked when Trump builds on something that that's bipartisan that happened long before him. So this has been a thing for a while. So almost every nonprofit relies on state funding of some kind. So most states went along. Here in New York, Andrew Cuomo was the governor at the time, and it was like, well, of course we'll have an anti-BDS resolution in the state legislature. So it's true in New York. If you're part of any BDS actions, you can't get New York State funds. So this started before Trump. Let's be clear about this. And this is something that, and we have to talk about what Zionists are doing. I'm writing about this week. I call it the Zionist shakedown, where they have managed to equate any anti-Zionist activity with anti-Semitism and therefore with discrimination. Trump is shaking down these colleges for money. Well, you allowed a pro-Palestine encampment, and that discriminated against Jews, so I'm taking your money. And now, as in the case, many of these schools, Columbia University has, as part of its agreement with Trump, where they paid, I think it was $200 million to get $1 billion back or something along those lines. $21 million has been set aside for Jewish employees of Columbia University who want to allege that they were discriminated against by the very presence of these encampments and of those protests that were taking place last spring. So if you're Jewish and you are, answer the phone, if you're an accountant or the floor sweeper or the whatever, if you're Jewish and you work at Columbia, you can claim you were discriminated against. There's this, and I hope there's a lawyer suing, because this is so sketchy to me. It's an EEOC agreement. And generally with the EEOC, you have to go through a process. You have to prove discrimination. Black people do anyway. You have to jump through, I don't know how many hoops to prove you've been discriminated against. But just by virtue of being Jewish, you can claim that these protests were discriminatory and you can share in this $21 million. So the anti-BDS has been going on for a long time. This is part of Trump's playbook. And he didn't start this. What is it? The IHRA definition? And I can't remember who that, what does IHRA stand for?
I don't remember the exact one, but effectively the language is
International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. I felt compelled to look it up. Their definition of anti-Semitism is criticism of Israel. Any criticism of Israel is deemed anti-Semitic by its very nature. This is another thing that's been going on for a long time. And so now Trump has elevated it to federal policy. And I recall a few years ago, someone won a case in Texas where if you got any money from the state of Texas, you had to swear loyalty to Israel of some kind. You had to say you were supportive. And someone sued a woman. She happened to be Muslim. she was working for a school system, and in order to sign this contract, she had to swear to this.
Yes.
And this is pre-Trump. So, and she won. She happened to win her case, and they said the state of Texas could no longer do that. So I believe in not letting others off the hook. I believe in not acting as if Trump is singularly bad about these issues. So this did not start with him. He's elevated it. He's ramped it up. But this has been going on for a while. And it's something that the rest of us have to oppose because we are losing our rights to a free speech because of Israel, because of Zionist groups and individuals. We are losing our rights to free speech. There is no other country in the world that you are forbidden to criticize. You can say anything in fact, we're encouraged to make negative remarks and smear other nations and just make up stuff about China or some other country we're told not to like. But Israel, we're told, is different. We don't have the same rights of free expression. We've seen tenured professors lose their jobs, kids kicked out of school. People, there are Zionist groups, what is it called? Canary Mission. And there's another one, Stop Anti-Semitism. And they just scour the internet for anybody saying anything they don't like about Israel. And then they smear that person publicly. People have been fired. Stop Anti-Semitism. You should check out this website. They brag about getting people fired.
Yeah.
So we have to say it's not just Trump, is my point.
Yeah, it's not Zionist groups. I mean, it is, but it's not. I mean, this kind of goes back to the whole Richard Nixon speech. Well, it wasn't a speech. He was in an interview. And Nixon one time says, look, there is a difference between what is in Israel's best interest and what is in America's best interest. And there are times where you have to tell them to effectively F off. And since Nixon, that has fallen in the memory hole. Mm-hmm. And you get a political system that runs on cash where these people are effectively just paid. And I forget who made the point of saying, you know, if Israel was so popular, why would they have to pay that much? I mean, that's the point. I mean, he's right? When you think about it in that context, it's like, well, he has a point. If you have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to get people to support you, to get Cory Booker to shame himself, to get, you know, Obama and all of these other people to look at a genocide and not call it a genocide and act like, oh, there's just people not being able to eat. No, it's a genocide. They're murdering and starving people. They're murdering babies. You have to question, why do you have to pay that much money to get those people to do that? That's a fair point. And, you know, the article just came out recently saying Democrats are trying to pivot to liberal Zionism as a way of dealing with issues. It's like, okay, what is liberal Zionism? Are you still back in the genocide? I don't know if you saw the TikTok video where they were trying to explain to people how they can feel bad about the genocide while simultaneously still support Zionism. And it's like, okay, this is going to be entertaining. Show me this. Show me that. It's wild. Do you think the liberal, what does it call it? Liberal Zionism. Again, I don't know what the hell that is, frankly. But this is apparently what Democrats are trying to push because they know that there's going to be a backlash against them supporting starvation of women and children and old men and just people who are just trying to live.
Well, they're not only that, they're claiming that there was a photograph of a starving child and they said, well, he had another condition. He's not starving. And my first question was, really, what's the name of the condition? What is it that mimics starvation? What are you talking about? And when there is a famine, when there is starvation, sick people die first. So that's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Yeah. But as far as, it's like Bernie Sanders, he always criticizes Netanyahu. Bernie's a Zionist. He lived on a kibbutz as a young man. He's a Zionist. He's trying to save Zionism, which shouldn't be saved, but at any rate. So it's the Bernie Sanders, I'm not going to use the word genocide. That's just a legal definition. Well, yes, it is a legal definition. And what Israel is and the U.S. are doing fits the definition of genocide, yes, which is a very simple definition: intentional harm towards a group of people. This is from the 1948 UN Convention on the prevention and punishment of the crime of genocide. I think I got that right, which explains what genocide is. It's intentional harm, and then it goes on to list all the ways you can harm people. Yes, by killing people, by depriving them of food. Mental harm can be genocide, all kinds of things. It fits the legal description, Bernie Sanders. So people are trying to defend Israel, but which is no longer defensible. So they talk about Netanyahu all the time, or there's a kinder, gentler genocide. That ship sailed. It is over. Israel is a pariah nation, and it will be forever. End of discussion. What they're hoping to do is tell people it doesn't have to be like this, or it doesn't have to be a genocide. If Israel lets the aid in, and all this confusion about aid, Israel is withholding aid. They are keeping trucks. Food has spoiled. Food has been thrown out. They have closed the crossing at Rafah on the border of Jordan. Israel is depriving people of food, and that ship sailed. And you can use all kinds of code words if you want, but it's over. Most people in this country now have a negative opinion of Israel, and they know that, and they don't care. So now the scorched earth policy is just to punish anyone who dares to speak up. They know that nobody likes Israel anymore. And because no one likes Israel anymore, the only way to change the narrative is to shut people up and tell them you're going to be punished if you say anything about Israel. Your school won't get any money. They're forcing colleges, and the Trump administration is doing this, to have anti-Semitism classes, and you can't enroll unless you go to one, and they tell you it's bad to, you're an anti-Semite. The word anti-Semitism has lost any meaning as far as I'm concerned. Yes. That if you criticize Israel, you can lose your job, you can be doxxed, you can be harassed. It's really horrible. And it's because they know that nobody likes Israel anymore. So they don't care about that. The goal is to shut people up, to continue the Zionist project, to continue political support for Israel, and they've gotten it. Bernie, what his resolution was it last week about ending military aid to Israel? I got how many votes? 20 some odd, or it was some small number. So they've succeeded. So that's their point, is just to shut people up.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a movie called The Reader. I think it's called The Reader. It's a German film. And it goes into how when the younger generation realized what their parents did, how there was this just recoiling at this idea of, granted, they talk about it in the context of a smaller story, but effectively this notion of few people were Nazis, like with disdain as they're saying it. I don't know, everything in me wishes that happens here, where they look at these political leaders, the Cory Bookers of the world, the Obamas of the world, the rando Democrats of the world that effectively supported this murdering of women and children en masse, and look at the people who did that with a certain amount of disdain, like a disgust and disdain, where it destroys their capability of not just running again, but showing their face in public. I don't see that happening in America. I agree with you that they find Israel to be a pariah, but they act as if it's Israel that's doing it, as opposed to the United States that is doing it, because Israel can't do it without the United States. It's just a client of the U.S.
No.
Give me a take on that. Oh, do you think I'm wrong on that?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Well, do you think I'm wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But that's why they have to shut people up too, to keep postpone this reckoning, which is inevitable and important, just to shut down opposition, to make sure that the money keeps flowing, to make sure that the U.S. at the UN uses its veto power to stop any resolutions against Israel. And it's not just the U.S., it's the entire collective West, Canada, European nations. All of them are guilty of the same thing. of aiding Israel in some form or fashion. So there are many guilty parties to what I have lost track of how many atrocities Israel has committed since October 2023, starving people, bombing hospitals, destroying universities, deliberately assassinating journalists.
Yes.
The U.S. Let me tell you how the Biden administration played its part here. Do you remember after South Africa charged Israel with genocide at the International Court of Justice, the World Court? The day the decision was to come down, Antony Blinken, Biden's Secretary of State, said that UNRWA, UNRWA, the UN aid agency, was infiltrated by Hamas.
Yep.
Just to make sure, if they said Israel was committing genocide, that they delegitimized in some way the Palestinians. And they said UNRWA is, there's Hamas in UNRWA and the US can't give any more aid. And other European nations did the same thing. That's where the starvation began, with the Biden administration. So I think this is an example of where we've got to be careful and not exceptionalize Trump, because he's exceptional in those ways, right? He's going to shake down these colleges. That's something that no other president probably would do. But he's been building on a history of U.S. support for Israel, building on this collusion between the state and Zionist groups to shut down the any anti-Zionist speech or thoughts or words.
Or anti-genocide. I mean, these people are genocide.
Well, that's what the lie says. It's not a genocide, because it is.
They're genocide deniers in one sense, and pro-genocide in the other. I mean, they sent what is his name? Witkoff over there. Witkoff was like, yeah, I see hungry people, but I don't see a genocide. I said, okay, sure. Like, why did you even go?
Yeah, they sent Mike Johnson, and they all went to the Wailing Wall, and they all pray there. It's disgusting. And it doesn't, they're not impressing anybody. I guess they're trying to impress Israel that, no, we still got your back. But and that, as I've said, they don't differ from past administrations in this regard.
Agreed. But it's so shameless.
Oh, it's horrible. And they've lost the public. They've lost. Marjorie Taylor Greene says it's a genocide, and Bernie won't say that it is. Yeah. Bernie says, what's the legal definition? Yes, it is, Bernie. Does it fit the legal definition? So he's, and that's the failure, that two-faced, I'm against starving people, but I'm not going to say it's a genocide, and I'm not going to be anti-Israel. It doesn't cut it anymore.
No. I mean, at this point, especially since Netanyahu is effectively, which was the most obvious thing in the world from the very beginning. It's like, well, yeah, we're just going to take all of Gaza now. So it was obvious you were doing it in the first place.
What they want to do is starve people, kill enough people. They want Egypt and Jordan to take 2 million people from Gaza. Egypt and Jordan do not want to do it. First of all, although both countries, by the way, are U.S. client states.
Yes.
It's going to disrupt their governance if they take in refugees. They have been going along. So first of all, if suddenly Egyptians look up and see 1 million people suddenly in their country who prove that their country is a puppet state of the U.S., Egypt can open its border. Egypt could feed those people. Egypt could send the ships. They could do something. So the last thing Egypt, and same with Jordan, the last thing they want is to have 2 million people suddenly in their country showing their weakness and their connivance with the U.S. and Israel. So what Netanyahu's evil plan is to starve people to death and force those countries to take in the people of Gaza. And so far they have refused. I don't know if that will continue or not, but that's the goal. And in order to do that, they have to starve people into submission, kill as many people as possible to try to empty out Gaza.
I think you are giving Netanyahu the benefit of the doubt. There's also just murder. Like you just want this territory. So if you need to kill as many of these people as possible, you just kill as many of these people as possible. I know he wants other countries to take them,
Yeah.
but there's a Nazi-esque malice that is built into this. Like when you get
Well,
when you
it's
get
just
them
what the
raping.
Nazis did. They would starve people before they killed them.
Yes, but you also have situations where like you get people being raped on camera, and then the public weighs in on whether or not it's okay, and 60% of the public says fair game. It's like yeah, Jews can be,
Well, that's the other problem with just blaming Netanyahu
exactly.
or anybody else. He represents his country. Most Israelis are in favor of the genocide.
Yes.
They had a riot. You talked about rape. There was a possibility of an Israeli soldier being arrested for rape. There was a riot in favor of that rapist soldier.
It was a gang rape. Yeah.
This is endemic to Israeli society, and we can't forget about the West Bank and these settlers setting fires, stealing people's lands, shooting and killing people on camera. All of this is part and parcel of Israeli society. That's Zionism. That's it. So you can't reform it. You can't liberalize it. That's it.
Yeah.